Hello. So yesterday I was out here highlighting the suspension and I was pointing out some things. And what I wanted to do is, before I tear it apart, I wanted to make one more video where I cover a few of the things that I had talked about, because when I go to put it back together and I'm showing you how it's going back together, I want you to be able to have a point of reference of what I'm talking about, where it came from, where it is, and what it should look like when it's all said and done. Now, with that being said, putting on different spindles and the leverage point, where the outer tie rod hooks up, is different on these billet spindles. So that's going to affect the length of my tie rods, and it's going to affect the angle of those tie rods. So what I wanted to do was just point out a couple of things that I talked about yesterday, just so that when I do this video showing you the assembly, that you have a point of reference, and I have a point of reference that'll be documented. So let's get going. Thank you. Okay, first thing we're going to talk about is the tie rod. So if you look on the second gen Camaro, at least on this one, and the reason it doesn't have serious issues with bump steer, or I've never had any problem with it, and just so you know, bump steer is the tendency for the vehicle to want to steer itself when you go over a bump. So that means, it could mean that the angle of the tie rod is wrong, whereas if you look at this, the pivot point for the lower control arm is right here, and it's right in line with the inner tie rod itself. And if you look out here, you have your ball joint, which the tie rod follows from that point to that point. Not every vehicle is set up that way. Whether it's space constraints or the design of the system itself, whether it's rack and pinion. This is a standard gearbox, so I know that even when this car is sitting on the ground, my lower control arms are level when it's sitting on the ground. And I know, because I've looked at it, that the tie rod follows the plane and stays pretty much parallel with the lower control arm. So they have bump steer kits, and a bump steer kit will take this inner tie rod, or outer tie rod, sorry, and it'll space it out so you can move it up and down. And you have a long pin with spacers where you can move it up and down with a spherical rod joint, and it's going to change the angle of the tie rod. When you buy, at least the kit that I bought for the bump steer kit to go with the spindles, so the spindles I'm getting, these curve in. The ones that I'm going to get, they come straight out like this, and I think they're a little bit lower. But when they sold me the kit, they sent me a straight inner tie rod, which if you put a straight inner tie rod on there, it's going to raise this up, and the angle is wrong. Not only that, but now this is closer to this ball joint here that goes up to the pitman arm. So when you have suspension travel up and down, if it compresses too much, this tie rod will smash into that ball joint and could cause damage to the steering box itself, the pitman arm and steering box itself. So I wanted to point those things out to you, and I'm going to go pull the center links. I have two center links. I have a brand new power steering center link, and I have a brand new manual steering link that I want to lay side by side and show you the comparisons between the two. And then I'm also going to grab the pitman arm and line it up to what is the power steering pitman arm that was modified for manual steering. Show you the differences and why I had to go to the correct center link. And when I replace this tie rod, it's going to be a spherical rod joint here and a spherical rod joint here. And when I went looking for spherical rod ends to replace the inner, took me a while, but I found an offset spherical rod end that's going to work. It's a 1-inch offset. It's chromoly. So this is 11/16 thread pitch, or size, I think it's 11/16 by 16. Or probably 24, 20, something like that, I don't know. But the kit that I bought for my spindles, when it came with the bump steer kit, it's a 3/4 diameter. So I found a 3/4 diameter rod end here that's going to replace this, and it's offset, so it's going to match this curve basically. And then I'm going to order custom length tie rod tubes to just screw on there, because this will be left hand thread, this will be right hand thread, so you can just roll this back and forth to roll your toe in and out. And that's it. So I'm going to go get these pieces, and I'm going to size them up and show you what they look like. Alright, so here is the manual pitman arm. See how it's got some bends in there? And that's how it goes on the car. So if we take a look here, get this lined up, you can see that it's about 1 inch shorter, right? And I'm not going to be able to crawl into there and line it up side by side, but you can physically see the bends in it, right? So now imagine that this is sitting in there like this. It wants to sit at a different angle overall than what that is, right? So here we have a power steering center link and a manual center link. And you can see how they're shaped different at the ends. This is power steering like I have on the car now. This has a shallower feel to it there, right? Angled different. And now power steering, manual. So you can see that they're just physically bent differently, and this has a shallower approach to it, because so this is more extreme because it sits closer to the cross member when it's in the car. This is shallower because it's going to sit 1 inch forward anyway compared to the other one. So just wanted to point those things out before I started tearing this thing apart, because ultimately when I put it back together, the goal is to get the geometry where it needs to be, especially with the tie rods, because that affects how the toe in and toe out of the wheels are as the suspension travels up and down through its arc. So that's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends, and follow along with me on this journey. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Good night.